Carbon dating of Quranic manuscripts is very controversial and can be very inexact. It cannot be trusted to give accurate ages for early Quranic manuscripts. Unfortunately, some scholars use this data casually to claim that the traditional view of the creation of the Quran is accurate. This time we're going to take another turn, and we'll talk about the carbon dating issue when it comes to those early Quranic manuscripts, and why, you see sometimes some wild numbers. Some even date before the alleged start of Islam or even the birth of the Prophet of Islam. Others date at least at a later time, and that's why you find scholars being very careful when it comes to dating. And there's a number of reasons, of course, why they do so, but that doesn't also negate the fact that there are problems with the dating itself, meaning problems with the text of the Quran and how that could be viewed. With me here, of course, to unpack all of this is Dr. Jay Smith. Dr. Jay, why is the carbon dating an issue?
Well, it's very controversial, and the reason why is carbon dating by default, because of the science that it uses, is very inaccurate. And so you have 50, 60, 100 years. Also, the problems with the whole system of carbon dating. The only two areas that rate the deterioration of carbon are the Western United States and Japan. And one other one is in Eastern Europe, so nowhere near the Middle East. And so the carbon deterioration is at a different speed in the Middle Eastern, much drier environment, much more desert environment. And so that's why many people are suspicious of the deterioration levels or the deterioration rates that are used in Western countries being applied to a Middle Eastern context. And I would agree, there's a problem there. And Shoemaker goes into that. We don't have time to get into that, but he says some of these are from 10 to 20, could be as many as 40 years difference. Well, that makes a big difference when you're looking at 650 versus 700.
That's right.
Or even later, or 680, they'd be pushing it back to 720. So that's why carbon dating is very inexact. We don't have time to really give his quotes on that, but we can do that in future episodes. I want to specifically look at the Sonam Manuscript. The Sonam Manuscript is the one that probably is the one that has been dated the most. If you just put the slide up here and just look at this example here. This is from just the Lyon lab. And when you look at the Lyon lab of just a part of the Sonam Manuscript, this is Surah 6, Surah 20, and Surah 21. When they looked at just these three different examples in one laboratory, between these three different surahs, look at the dates they got. In Surah 6, it was 543 to 643. Well, that's long before the Quran. In Surah 20, it was 433 to 599.
The Prophet wasn't even born yet.
Not even born yet. So there was no way that this could be coming from Muhammad. In Surah 21, verse 72, is 388 to 535.
Same issue.
Same issue. All of these are predate Islam.
At least the middle one, it could have, happened when he was born, but Islam didn't even start.
Now, to be fair, be clear, no one's saying that the manuscript was written at that time.
That's right, because we're only analyzing the animal skin.
But you can see from three different surahs in the same manuscript, look at the difference of date. Now let's do something else. I want to look at another slide, and this is a slide that was done by that we get from your friend Dr. Mark Dury. He sent me this to me, and I want to look now at taking one fragment that is the fragment of I think it's the. Well, let's just see which one it is. It's the third one that we have here. They taken that fragment. He goes down, and it's the MS1-27-1. Let's look and see when they took, that's one fragment, they take it to 4 different laboratories. So let's look at that slide here. Let me just come down to it. It's this one here. They took it to 4 different laboratories, to Lyon, which is in France, to Kiel, which is in Germany, to Zurich, which is in Switzerland, and to Oxford, which is in Britain, the same Oxford lab that dated the Birmingham folios. Mm-hmm. So the same fragment from the same manuscript, the same place, taking it to 4 different laboratories, all in Europe. Look at the differences they got. Mm-hmm. The first one is the Lyon one. The Lyon one went from about 383 up until 540. All right, the same fragment, Look at the dates they got. When they went to Germany and asked the same, and took parts of the fragment, the same area, the same, in other words, the same page, and they did the carbon dating in Kiel in Germany, it went from 433 to about 460. That's completely different. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Now let's look at the green one. That's Zurich. That's a Swiss one. When they carbon dated it, their datings were from 460 up to around 550. And finally, when they went to Oxford, theirs were about 510 up to 550. So you can see none of them predated, none of them were the same dates.
That's right.
Proving how inexact it is taking the same fragment and applying it to four different laboratories. Now, notice that all of these go from 390 up to 550. That's before Muhammad, that's before the Quran, that's before Islam. When you look at when Muhammad's dates are, and that's what I've just circled in blue right here, those two blue, that's Muhammad's dates. That's when he was living. You notice that
so you can notice that some of them started before
they're 80 to 220 years earlier.
That's right.
Than his life.
So one argument could be these are the source material used for the Quran later. I mean, if you want to stick to these dates, you know what I mean?
If you want to stick to these dates, but they don't agree with each other.
Yeah.
And then when you look at when the Quran was canonized, which is what I'm just circling up there, that one right there, they are 100 to 260 years too early.
Yeah.
That's the problem that we're having now. So you can see carbon dating is not exact. And we must be careful if we're going to use carbon datings for getting these kind of dates. Carbon dating is great when you're talking about hundreds and thousands of years. But within just a 100-year period, they're too inexact to talk about something that's that specific. Now, I do know that the Muslims like to always take the latest date. They like the 645 date because they have an agenda. What happened if you took the 568 date for the Birmingham folio, for instance, or the Sonam Manuscript? Even the latest date is 550. If you take the earliest, it's 390. If you want to take the 390, they said, well, then they take the medium, what they call the Bell medium, which is the medium sect. In every one of these Bell mediums that you see on this picture here, they all predate Islam, they all predate Muhammad, and they all predate the Qur'an.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm really thankful for Dr. Duri for doing this, because I remember when he did that, we were together in a gathering, and it was an eye-opener for a lot of us. When you put it at least in a graphical way like this, it makes sense now why there is problem and why it highlights the work that we've been doing, the work of Shoemaker and many others as well. And people can see now why the carbon dating is really a questionable approach if you want to be fair to dating the Quranic manuscripts itself. It poses a lot of problems here, as you can see. Thank you, of course, for all of this. Next time, we will continue our discussion with the carbon dating, and we may take a couple of detours when it comes to that. Until then, have a blessed day. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, CIRA International, and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.